All right, so I'm just going to start here with thank you everyone for joining us. This is the 35th anniversary of the Ridge Trail. We are celebrating the first 100 miles, and this is our Insider Chat 2024. If you're just joining us, please add your name and your favorite trail in the chat. Alex, you want to go to the next slide? All right, so we're going to spend about an hour together today. As I mentioned, this is a new webinar platform. It's called Classy. It also lets us do donations and do registration for events. So please be patient as we all get used to this, but I think we're liking it, and we really appreciate your support in making this one work. Let us know if you have any problems. Today, we're going to have some opening remarks from Janet, and we'll hear from our trail team about trail progress and exploration. I'll share some ideas for supporting our vision. And then we have a wonderful presentation that'll take us back, looking at 35 years ago and the first trail that were dedicated here on the Ridge Trail. And we'll wrap up with sharing some ideas for you guys to get out on the trail with us today. Next slide. Thanks. This is our current rendition of the staff, and we are so thrilled to be here with you today. This is in the backyard of our Berkeley offices. And of course, Ridge Trail event would not be able to happen without the leadership of our board. Our board expertise, leadership, and dedication supports the staff both on and off the trail. And we really shout out to all of the staff members and the board members for helping make that possible. And of course, what would we do without our partners? And I want to recognize our incredible park and open space partners. The logos capture agencies and organizations who support the council as agency members, as well as some of our corporate and foundation sponsors. The Coastal Conservancy really needs to be recognized for their continuous support for our trail planning work with a significant multi-year grant. Thank you to all our partners and funders. Okay, so we are going to do a brief land acknowledgement, and I would just like to kind of introduce us to the Ridge Trail that travels through traditional territories that were taken from the Miwok, Pomo, Wapa, Patwin, Karkin, Cochenyo, Mutsun, Awaswas, Taimian, Muwakmen, and Ramaytush-speaking peoples, among others. They cared for the land long before the Ridge Trail existed, and their descendants continue to play a vital role as stewards of the lands in the Bay Area today, along, of course, with the Ridge Trail and our many park partners and land agencies. The Ridge Trail travels through many different landscapes, each with a unique history and indigenous community with a connection to that land. For example, photographed here is Mount Umunhum, or Place of the Hummingbird, in the South Bay, and it is a sacred space for the Ama Mutsun tribal band. We encourage anyone exploring or supporters of the Ridge Trail to learn more about the Native communities whose lands you live, work, and recreate on, their history, and the work that they are doing today to preserve their land, culture, and sovereignty, and to support those communities and organizations where you please support those communities and organizations where you can. You can start by just looking online at who are the tribes in your area. For instance, you can find information about Mount Umunhum at the Ama Mutsun website that we'll drop in the chat. Thank you. Next slide. I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Janet McBride, who has been with the organization for almost 18 years and will help introduce us to our celebration today. Janet?
Hello, welcome. So just checking our technology here, I can only see Marie. Are other people, can someone in the chat say if...
Yeah, we are good to go, Janet. We can see you and hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks. Well, hello and welcome, everyone. So we're celebrating the 35th anniversary of the first Ridge Trail dedication that happened in May of 1989. But we're also celebrating the first 100 miles of the Ridge Trail, all the sections that were captured and brought into the network that first year, and of course, all the people and all the partners who made it possible. And so in addition to celebrating the anniversary, we're going to share with you, our treasured insiders, updates on the status of the Ridge Trail today and what we see ahead on the near-term horizon, and also a little bit on the far horizon. So with all long distance trails, we rely on both inspiration and perspiration, and we have these in abundance. We have, of course, a bold vision, inspiring leadership, and an amazing grassroots membership, and so many volunteers who work tirelessly. And when I think about the Ridge Trail, to me, the hallmarks of it are the vision, the people and the partners, and then also the connections. So starting with the vision was and is inspiring and audacious. And so we credit William Penn Mott Jr. with first articulating the idea of the Ridge Trail way back in the 1960s. Mott, who incidentally led East Bay Regional Park District and then California State Parks before serving as the head of the National Park Service, he really put forth this big idea, that here in this big metropolitan area, somebody would be able to hike around the entire ridgeline. They would be able to hike around the entire Bay shoreline. And then also there would be a trail that would connect up to the Sierras. So this idea was percolating for decades, really. But in the mid to late 1980s, the vision began to come into sharper focus, began to take shape. With stakeholders coming from around the region, coming together in a series of meetings and councils that were held. This really was as Mott was retiring or starting to plan his retirement. So folks came together, and then in the early years, really quick progress was made by dedicating already existing trails, most often within already established parks. And it took just a year to reach that 100-mile mark. And we'll talk more about that later. But first, just a little bit more about the vision, which has actually expanded since the original conception in terms of the geography. So the big loop now stretches from Calistoga in the north all the way to south of Gilroy in the south, running through all 9 counties. And in addition to this main Ridge Trail spine, the vision was of a network of trails that would link communities to the Ridge Trail, also to camps, huts, yurts, and other facilities, and to a whole bunch of other regional and local trails, and to historic and natural features in the landscape. So the trail would offer options for both just a quick trip close to home to get out in nature, as well as the idea that there would be these multi-day epic adventures and treks, something like what you might experience if you travel to Spain and do the Camino de Santiago. So in addition to a big vision for a trail, there was also, the vision also included a vision that was about protecting and restoring and connecting natural open space and creating connected corridors, not just for people, but also for wildlife and for habitat. It was about fostering environmental stewardship so that people would experience nature and want to protect it. And then it was also about creating opportunities for physical health and wellness benefits as well. So that's the vision in terms of people and partners. So many people have contributed and made the Ridge Trail possible, both at the start and then continuing today. So we thank the visionaries, the stakeholders, the founders, a committed board then and now, talented staff, hardworking volunteers, generous donors, and of course, all the people who get out and enjoy and experience the trail. So partnership has always been key. The route runs through more than 75 parks and preserves, more than 35 park partners and land managers care for and operate the trail. And initially, the Steering committee and advisors were primarily representatives of partner organizations, but there was also this really strong sense that what was being developed was a model of a public-private partnership. So at the outset, we had co-chairs that there would be like one public agency chair and also a representative of a non-agency. So partnership key, and then just lastly, connections. It's about connecting the physical trail itself, but also just the idea that a connected long distance trail is so much greater than the sum of its individual parts. It's about connecting people and communities to parks and preserves, but also connecting corridors for wildlife, as I said, and connecting people to each other and providing opportunities to make those greater connections. So with that introduction, I'd love to turn it back over to Marie with an invitation to hear a little bit from all of you.
Great. Thank you, Janet. So we are talking about 35 years since the first 100 miles. And what we'd like to do for just a moment is ask you 35 years from now, how would you envision the Ridge Trail? What do you think it would look like? Do you expect it'll be fully connected, which of course we do? What would you want to see from the Ridge Trail, or how would you like to experience the Ridge Trail? And so we're just encouraging you to take a minute and drop some ideas into the chat for us and give us a sense of what you think your vision would be. I'm going to fill in a little bit. So we have a fully connected with much more camping opportunities all around. I'm going to say, I'm throwing out, I'd like to be out there with my grandkids hiking a multi-day trip in 35 years. Hiking on the flat sections is what Janet said. Full transit access. Thank you, Rebecca. That's a great comment. A nonstop loop with camping along the way. Other ideas for what our vision would look like for 35 years from now, 2060. What is happening on the Ridge Trail? Glamping and staying at inns. All right, as you are, people to know it as the PCT or the AT. We'll talk a little bit about broader recognition nationally, but definitely that it becomes a world-class trail. All right, so as you're thinking your thoughts, please feel free to shoot those to us in an email format or add them to the chat as we continue. And I am going to now turn it over to our trail team to talk about trail progress and what's happening next. Ryan?
Ryan, you're on mute. Still muted, sorry. Ryan, you're still on mute. Can you microphone at the bottom of the screen?
All right, while Ryan is figuring that out, I'm going to continue to read some of our chats. Boo Byers, broader recognition like the PCT and other long distance trails. Absolutely. Once it's fully connected, Mike asks, and built out, how long will it become in miles? We are anticipating that the completed trail will be 550 miles when it is fully connected. Totally connected camping and other places from the Alcorns. Wish there were ways to reach points without so much driving. Yeah, hopefully there'll be better transportation for us all in 35 years. Lodging and camping options from Kimlin. And thank you, Alan, one of our board members, for sharing, that the Ridge Trail will be known as a major recreational option for people living in or visiting the Bay Area. A big destination on par with the Presidio, Golden Gate Park, the bridge, for everybody from all different ways of life and backgrounds. I'm still seeing Ryan's managing his technical difficulties. So if we have any other ideas, please throw them down.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, here we go.
All right.
We can hear you great. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Yeah, good to be back. I'm glad. New tools, you know how technology goes. We're all on a learning curve sometimes. So good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Today with the trail team, we'd like to walk you through a little bit of the trail progress that we have going on. And then I'll hand it off to the rest of the trail team, to our two trail project managers, Kyvan and Ryan, to walk you through some of the great tools that we have and that they've been working to really improve moving forward as well. So without further ado, let's go to the next slide and we'll walk you through some of the progress for this year. So coming up later this year, you may remember that we did talk about it last year as well, but the Calistoga Ridge Trail is, we feel, close to 100% certain is going to be opening up later this year. There's a slight hiccup last year as the trail requires a bit of a sealant, and they couldn't get that on in time before the winter freeze was coming. And so they had to roll everything down for the year, but now they've been up and running and construction is progressing. And so it sounds like we're looking at an August opening and dedication. So we're really excited to get out there with you all, celebrate along with our partners at Napa Valley Transportation Authority and the Vine Trail. And the thing I'll point out about this one as well that I think is altogether too, is that because of already existing Ridge Trail in both the Napa Valley State Park, Lower Odell Mine Trail, not too far away, and then recent dedications in the Wild Lake Preserve, not too far from there as well, with the exception of a very short gap through downtown Calistoga, which is really a passable gap. You'll be able to do around 18 miles of continuous Ridge Trail when this opens up. So we're quite excited about that. Next slide, please. So on over in Solano County, the long-awaited Petuino-Huertla-Cotoidiqui Open Space Park is also going to be opening probably in August as well. Quite excited about that. Adds 2.1 miles through really some amazing rolling foothills of oak forests with some great ridgetop views kind of overlooking the hills and the landscape in that area. So quite excited about that. We'll definitely keep you all posted, looking to celebrate closely with our partners at Solano Land Trust there as well. Next slide, please. And also on the horizon, later this year, some of you may remember that about a year and a half ago, we undertook a large route study down in the South Bay and ended up doing a reroute in that area. And so that reroute led to the discovery of this section of Ridge Trail that we're looking to dedicate later this year, which will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 miles of dedicated Ridge Trail that will pass through Calero County Park and Rancho Cañada del Oro Open Space Preserve, which is run by the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority. So we're quite excited about that one. We're looking to partner with both Santa Clara County Parks and Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority for a big celebration in that area, probably in the early fall this year as well. And again, mentioning that that's somewhere more than 10 miles of Ridge Trail to be dedicated in that area. So it really opens up that section. Next slide, please. So with those miles, I'll just say, you know, on average, historically, the Ridge Trail has been able to open and dedicate somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 miles of Ridge Trail per year. We've really been on a roll in recent years and really excited about that. Last year, even with some of the delays we had of Calistoga Ridge Trail moving into this year, still able to open and dedicate 13 plus miles last year in 2023. We're looking at this year in 2024, over 16 miles of dedicated Ridge Trail. And looking forward to next year, we're looking at over 11 miles. And so when you add all those up, by 2026, we're looking at adding an additional 40 plus miles of Ridge Trail. So really growing the miles and opening up new opportunities for you all to get out there just for those epic day hikes or long-term multi-day adventures as well. Next slide, please. So in addition to the openings that we have going on too, there's also a number of special projects that we have going on. So the Southern Loop Working Group is the first one we'll touch on briefly. Is really comes out of that same route study that we worked on over the last couple of years, and is focusing not just on where the route study went between Mount Amanum and Mount Madonna, but we'll look at the whole southernmost loop of the Ridge Trail, the one that kind of rounds down towards Gilroy and then comes back up on the eastern side of the hills as well. And so right now in that working group, since December of last year is when it all kicked off with our project manager, Ryan Fritz, who you'll hear from in a few minutes as well. We've been reaching out to Santa Clara County Parks, who is very essential in bringing that together, Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority, the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Agency, Mid-Peninsula Open Space, and Peninsula Open Space Trust, POST as well, are all a part of that working group. So it's really bringing all of these partners together who do speak independently, but bringing all 6 of them with the Ridge Trail involved too, to talk about things like new trails and routes, ecological and wildlife considerations, land acquisitions, and getting us all on the same page so we can kind of work together as one unit to really start to open up more miles in that southern part of the Ridge Trail. Around the Carquinez Strait, we also are actively working on a new wayfinding project. We're actually just about to put in the order to order the signs, and so those will be installed on the Solano side of the Ridge Trail, as well, which is also the Bay Trail in that area as well, to install new wayfinding signs along that route. And the other thing we're also looking at kicking off this year as well, that our trail project manager, Kyvan Ellip, is working on, is a route study along the Napa-Solano border regions as well. And so that will be in close coordination with partners such as the Solano Land Trust, as well as our partners up in Napa County Parks as well. And so that we're trying to hopefully study the area, figure out some potential new routes that could unlock new Ridge Trail miles, just like we've done down in Santa Clara County as well. Next slide, please. And so just as an example of this, just yesterday, Ryan Fritz and I were actually out with our partners from Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority, looking at this area that is really close to the 10 plus miles that are going to open in Calero and Rancho Cañada. This is just southeast of there in an area that's not yet opened. But we've been working closely with OSA. We're able to go out and kind of look at this property that's known as the Blair Ranch. And from the route study, a lot of that work that we've been working on the past couple of years has really kind of unlocked all these opportunities there. And so here we were kind of looking down what'll be future Ridge Trail along some old ranch roads. We're also going to be working with them on looking at some new sustainable trails that are in the area. But really, that route study has unlocked so many possibilities in that area, including new sustainable trails, potential overnight possibilities, and we're hoping to get Ridge Trail members out there in the near future as well through our very important trails program. So really excited about the possibilities in that area, and just wanted to share a little bit of the snippet of some of the behind the scenes work that we're doing in anticipation. Kind of a lot of the pre-work is involved here before the dedication comes along. So there's a lot of poring over maps, a lot of hiking on these trails, checking out if there are legitimate possibilities, and really close coordination with the partners as well. And I just wanted to give a shout out too, that a slide popped up as well, that the WoodenX Foundation was really essential to funding a lot of the work that went into the route study and the Southern Loop working group that's going on there now as well. Next slide, please. So the last piece we wanted to touch on, which I think Marie touched on very briefly as well with some of the comments coming up, is one of the other initiatives that we...
Ryan, you just muted again.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, there you go.
Okay. All right. So one of the pieces that's also come up as a part of our strategic plan was the pursuit of National Scenic Trail status. And really this idea is a natural fit with the idea of the Ridge Trail being this continuous loop of 550 miles around the 9 counties of the Bay Area. And this was part of our strategic plan a few years ago. And last year, we spent a lot of time working with our board and trail committee, looking into what this would entail. And then we took our findings to the board in December and got the green light to move forward on looking into this as a possibility. So since January, we've been meeting with some of our close partners, surveying the partners, these are the land managers, as well as the National Park Service, particularly at Golden Gate National Recreation Area, and talking with them about the possibility of National Scenic Trail status and what that would look like. We've gotten quite positive feedback, are working on actively addressing questions that come up with them. And the next step really is to petition for a feasibility study to be done. So it really is a long process that's probably a decade or longer in the making. But we're making progress on it, including a recent meeting with Representative Jared Huffman as well, with the goal being to get legislative approval to move forward on a feasibility study. And we're hoping for that sometime soon as well. So just wanted to fill you in on those details as well. And we're quite excited about how that fits with the Ridge Trail mission vision. Next slide, please. All right, so without further ado, I will hand it off to Kai Van Ellup, who is our trail project manager for the North Bay, to walk you all through some of our tools and resources that we have for getting out and exploring the trail.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, now that you all have heard so much about the Ridge Trail, I'm sure you all are itching to get out there. So I'm going to go over some of the different tools that we currently have that folks can use and just kind of highlight some different modifications that we've recently made or just things that you can use in your exploration. And then I'll hand it over to my colleague, Ryan Fritz, to go over a new tool that kind of combines a lot of these different features of these different applications and whatnot. So if, yep, thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Cool. So hopefully you can see this, but this is our website. So to get to this trip planning tools webpage, all you would do is go to this maps and tools tab and go down to trip planning tools. Here you will find, all of our different kinds of tools. So I'm kind of going to walk through it as if I was somebody that was trying to get out onto the trail. So the first thing I see is the Planning Navigator, which is a great tool. So if you open that, you would get to this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has a ton of information on it. And the first thing I would do is just make my own copy. So all you would do is go to File, make a copy to your own Google Drive. So this allows you just to make your own edits, which is helpful for personalized planning and just ease of making it your own. So different things that you can do are just with these little tabs here is go through these little filters. So a new tab that we added to this that folks might not have noticed is this dedication year and last updated year. So say I'm really cool like all of you and I've hiked all of the trails up until 2020 and I kind of want to see what's new. What I can do is click on that little filter tab and click 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. And this will give me all the trails that were last updated or dedicated since 2020. So this is a great way for you just to filter your view and not have to scroll through a bunch and just be able to kind of keep up with yourself on what different trails are available to you. So you can get it down to that way. And then if you want to add some more filters, like you only want to go to Napa or Alameda counties, you can add that. From here, you can also access just so many different types of tools that we have. So if you happen to want to do Franklin Ridge Ranches, you can click on this map tab and this will take you straight to more details, as well as a PDF map right here that you can download that has really specific details if you're into physical copies. Another thing that we've really been trying to do more is keep up with AllTrails. So if you go to this AllTrails link, AllTrails is great for just classic navigation, as well as some user fed information and reviews that are more up to date than we can keep. So you can see this is from 2022, but if you want to help us, write reviews as you go out there just to inform people and make these trails more popular on AllTrails, that would help folks just get to know the Bay Area Ridge Trail more. Some cool features about AllTrails is that you can download the trail. So when you're out there, you can follow it turn by turn without having service, as long as you download it beforehand, or if you do have service, you can also just see where you are. Another cool thing about AllTrails is that if you go back to this trip planning tools, if you click on this AllTrails mobile app and website link, this will give you a whole entire list of all of our different trails. And you can also just filter it out to finding what you really want. So you can copy it to your own list onto AllTrails, which is a feature they have. You could see filter, or you can even view a full map here. That would just allow you to spatially see where a lot of these trails are and just kind of feel your way, explore the trail through your computer, which is a really cool tool. Some last things I'll highlight is that you can get the official guidebook if you're really into just having a physical copy. We also have downloadable Ridge Trail route files. So if you have your own mapping app and you want to, and you're savvy with like GIS or Caltopo or Gaia, you can download these GPX and KMZ files so you can edit it yourself. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ryan Fritz to go over our new tool that we'll be having soon.
Thanks, Kevin. I know we're excited about some of the enhancements that have come from you all, the users, but I'm excited to show a new interactive map that should hopefully combine a lot of these features and make it even easier to go find a trail that you'd like to hike. So this is an ArcGIS interactive dashboard. It will probably be embedded onto our Ridge Trail website. So you'll access it there once we post it. And so what you see in the middle is an interactive map of our Ridge Trail route. And similar to that All Trails map, you can kind of scroll in, you'll start to see some more detail. And then let's say you want to start with Golden Gate Bridge. So you'll click, and we condensed all that information into this little sidebar. So if you want the PDF map, you can get it right here. You can go to the website for full hike details. And then we even have a little embedded All Trails elevation and a link to the All Trails site with more tools. Then let's say you've done this section, you'd like to move to the next one in Marin. You can just click on the map and you'll also see the summary details, elevation, etc. We've also got some other features like campsites that we've put on the map. So you can click on a campsite and get a little summary and a link to maybe reserve a campsite for an overnight hike. And then up top, you have some of the same filters from the Planning Navigator. So if we zoom out, maybe you're looking for a hike of a certain distance, you can use the filter here. Something between 6 and 10 miles, there are your options. And then it also has the dedication year, which in this case refers to the last updated year that Kaivan was showing, where if you want to see the last 4 or 5 years of updates and dedications, you can see it visually that way. Also some other filters. And I think as the Ridge Trail continues to collect data on trail amenities, trail accessibility, we're excited to find ways to incorporate that to our website and our planning tools. So that's it for that. I will pass it back over to Alex.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Let's see if I can get my camera on here. Hi, there I am. Hi, everyone. So now you've got all of these fantastic tools that our team is developing. Now the next thing to do is to go out and use them to explore the Ridge Trail, maybe every single part of the Ridge Trail, which we call circumnavigation. We just did a webinar on Tuesday about circumnavigating the Ridge Trail. So some of this for some of you might be repetitive, but if you haven't heard of it, this is basically how we describe hiking, running, horseback riding, biking, or any other approved way to travel the trail around every single part of the Ridge Trail. We don't have any rules about what order, what time frame that you have to. It's really just for you to go out and see every segment. So we do have an email list on our website, ridgetrail.org/circumnavigation. Even if you're just maybe thinking about it, haven't started yet, highly recommend joining that because we do have invitations to get-togethers for circumnavigators. You'll get an email with all of the resources and things that Kaivan and Ryan just walked through. You'll get direct links to those. And also just, for our appreciation for being a real dedicated Ridge Trail explorer, we will often kind of give you early notification about news and events and things like that. So highly recommend joining that email list. And then I also highly recommend that when you do finish, that you go back to that webpage and you fill out our finisher form. You can, through that form, besides just bragging about your great accomplishment, You'll also get the chance to get a patch, pin, a printed certificate, kind of whatever swag that you're looking for to really show off that accomplishment. And you can also get a spot on our Wall of Fame on our website. If you haven't taken a look, this is just a few of our latest circumnavigator finishers, but there's a whole list there of people who have done this journey, not just the primary miles, but for those going out and back, those additional miles that they traveled, we also recognize those. Yeah, definitely recommend, even if you don't want to be on the wall, or even if you don't want any swag, it is really helpful if you have finished a circumnavigation to fill out that form just to let us know, because we want to hear about your experience and kind of hear your feedback about anything else that we can do to improve that experience, improve those tools for getting out on the trail as well. So now I'm going to pass it along to Marie to talk about supporting the trail.
Hello again. So ways to support the vision. You've heard about a lot of the work that we're doing, and we need your support to make it happen. So Alex, next slide, please. As we discussed our 35th anniversary and the first 100 miles, I also want to acknowledge that in the first year, about 100 individuals and organizations listed here made gifts and became part of the William Penn Mott Jr. charter members of the Ridge Trail. And we really want to thank them for their early support, many of whom are still members today. And I think a few of you are actually on the chat with us. So thank you personally, and extended thanks to those who are no longer with us, but that supported the Ridge Trail from the beginning. Today, our membership is over 5,000 individuals, and that combined support makes up about 50% of our annual revenue. So we really cannot do this work without each one of you. Next slide. I want to reintroduce the Ridge Trail Action Fund. We had been calling it the Ridge Trail Opportunity Fund, and it is on its way to becoming a place for us to be able to draw from for trail projects. It's our quick action fund to provide both timely and flexible funding for projects to keep them needed where and when it's needed most. We've launched the 50 miles in 5 years campaign last year, and we are on our way to meeting our goal of opening 50 new trail miles within the next 5 years, getting more people out and enjoying the trail. And the fund is what helps us keep that going. Next slide. The fund itself is designed to focus on 4 areas that are also in line with our strategic initiatives: planning and completing the trail, improving navigation, expanding access, and investing more in overnighting options, which is one of the things I saw when people said, what do you want to see in 35 miles? You want to see a robust set of overnighting. We want to have the ability for people to get out and navigate better, more signage, better signage, and certainly, of course, a fully completed trail. And the fund is what lets us do this. We draw from allocations on an annual basis to get projects unstuck or help people push projects to the finish line and expedite new trail openings. I've discussed some of these in the past, but there's a bridge in Garin Denials that the fund is underwriting, a routing study for 2 challenging gaps on either side of Sonoma Mountain, trails and signage that helped push the opening for Dan's Wild Ride last year in Napa, interpretive signs for the upcoming opening at Patuino. And this year, funds will be going from the Ridge Trail Action Fund to support signage and seating as part of the renovations on Twin Peaks in San Francisco. Next slide, please. So to date, we've raised and seeded the fund with about $475,000, but we've got a goal of raising $1 million. And that $1 million will support trail projects now and in the future and help us add that 50 miles of new trail in the next 5 years. The Ridge Trail Action Fund is really a transformational tool for the Ridge Trail in completing our work and having a fully connected fund, fully connected trail. So please consider, if you haven't already, a gift to the Ridge Trail Action Fund, maybe in honor of our 75th anniversary. Your support will make an impact and help us grow the trail. And I also just want to thank everybody who's contributed, and thank you to all of our loyal supporters, volunteers, and trail champions. And here you're seeing 3 examples of potential funding projects for the Ridge Trail Action Fund that Ryan had discussed earlier as part of our work. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give an example of a donor and the significance of their support. Ruth Zamist is a former CPA and became the Ridge Trail's first treasurer in 1991, and she served on its board for 7 years, part of the founding board members. And Ruth mentioned early on that the concept of connecting neighborhoods and counties via the Ridge Trail was very appealing. And Ruth made it her mission to hike the Ridge Trail in every county it crosses and learn about the places other than her little corner of the world in Marin County. So as an enthusiastic Ridge Trail supporter, Ruth went beyond contribution and made the trail a beneficiary in her retirement plan, thus becoming a member of our legacy circle. Her estate gift strategy was to make the Ridge Trail Council a percentage beneficiary of her retirement plan, which was a very CPA savvy touch. If you leave those funds to individuals, they would be taxable, but left to the Ridge Trail Council, her gift becomes tax-free in full to the cause that she loves. Special thanks to Ruth and other members of our Ridge Trail Legacy Circle. And you can always contact me if you're interested in making an estate gift to the Ridge Trail. I am going to pass it on to Janet and let her take us into the celebration of the first 100 miles. Thanks.
There is an interesting question from Dave about if there's a distinction between donating to the Ridge Trail versus donating to the Ridge Trail Action Fund.
Yes, the fund is a reserve. It acts as a reserve fund that we can use at our discretion to pay for specific projects, versus your annual contribution or a general membership gift is supporting our annual operating expenses. And I can contact Dave and talk a little bit more about that and share some information with everybody who's attended today too, as follow-up. All right, I'm going to pass it on to Janet.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And thanks again to all our donors. You make all of our work possible. So what we're going to do now, thanks for staying with us this far. We're going to show some hopefully fun photos and slides and old memorabilia of the early days of the Ridge Trail Council. So starting with the timeline. So we've talked about this a little bit in the late 80s, 1987. Here's a photo of folks coming together, poring over maps. It really was a roll up your sleeves, dive in and really just explore this idea of would it be possible to create a regional trail? So 1988, folks came together in what was, I think, technically called the council. And then again, the official formation of the Ridge Trail organization happened in 1988. In the early days, it was a project of what was called People for Open Space, which became the Greenbelt Alliance. And then in 1989, as we've mentioned, the very first sections were dedicated. And then already by 1990, we were able to get to 100 miles. So that's like the top level timeline. Next slide, please. So what I want to do now is introduce someone who's joining us virtually, one of our really close friends and insiders, David Hansen. So in 1989, David was the land manager at MidPen, and he was one of those original stakeholders, one of those people that came to the meetings and supported the creation of the Ridge Trail. And then by virtue of his position, he helped plan that very first dedication. And David's also worked all around the region on trails all around, including serving as the first general manager of Sonoma County Ag Preservation and Open Space District, also a land manager at Marin County Open Space District, and just a really wonderful friend of trails and of the Ridge Trail. And so with that, I'd love to share a little video clip we recorded a few days ago. David, sorry you couldn't join us, but wanted to share a little bit with you.
The first dedication was at Purisma Creek Redwoods in the morning. I was on the executive committee for the Ridge Trail, and we'd done a lot of preparation beforehand. Brian O'Neill, of course, was our chair, and he's superintendent at the Golden Gate National Recreation Area and a great driver of the Ridge Trail and friend. And alas, I'm sorry, he's not here to celebrate our 35th. And we'd worked with Dave Sutton and the Ridge Trail. Dave Sutton then was the GM or the exec director at a group called the Trail Center. And he had actually worked with us on creating a part of the Ridge Trail along Purisma Creek, which was accessible for wheelchairs, working with a woman named Phyllis Kangemi, who was the head of Whole Access, which looked at getting people out on the trail. So we'd already done that in prep for this big dedication. The dedication itself was held in the parking lot, the upper parking lot of Purisma Creek Redwoods. And Brian spoke, and we had horsemen coming up from the bottom part of Purisma Creek Redwoods from the west. We had hikers, people in wheelchairs and others, and bicyclists. I think principally through ROMP, of Responsible Off-Road Mountain Peddlers. So we had all of the representatives there of the trails groups, but it was a fantastic event and everybody was excited and went off in their different directions. And then in the afternoon, it went to Huddard Park for that dedication. I was lucky, Janet, to be at the Bill Mott coming out party at Fort Mason. And I remember sitting there with all the other agencies and nonprofits, listening to Bill and Brian talk about this trail. And of course, Bill Mott, very inspirational. It was exciting. It was, wow, look at us all. We knew that it was going to be easy to start with because we had lots of prospects on public land to dedicate as the Ridge Trail. So all around the bay, we knew there were areas that could dedicate right away. And that was, I won't say it was easy, but it was obvious that we'd pick up maybe 100 miles or so of the trail right away. It was an exciting prospect. The vision has really evolved and enlarged in such a great way. I know that we're now talking about 500 miles, and there's a lot of new areas that are being picked up all the time. I know it's harder when you have private lands, and having been a negotiator for private lands for open space, but it's exciting now. I think we see much more visibility for the Ridge Trail, and to even think that this could get national status, which is something I know you're working on now, is even more exciting. And I'm hoping to continue to enjoy those areas that I helped protect and dedicate myself. Thank you very much, and go Ridge Trail.
All right, Janet.
Yeah, enjoy hearing that inside story from David very much. So now sharing some more photos. So here's William Penn Mott Jr. on the left, and this is one of the very first ribbon cuttings. The photo on the right, you can see that's Bill Mott sharing the wearing the long sleeve blue shirt. It's Brian O'Neill in the center. Brian is was such an inspirational and dynamic and charismatic figure to so many of us. I actually tear up every time I talk about Brian. And then Barbara Rice is there to the left of Brian. Barbara was the first executive director of the Ridge Trail and continues to give us advice from the National Park Service perspective. So just sharing some of the great photos of the early days. I'm not going to read through all of this, but you'll see those original officers, the at-large board members. As Marie mentioned, many of those folks are still friends of the Ridge Trail. Here's the founding board. Just you can see the broad expanse of the representation of the organizations and the individuals, folks from all around the region. These are, I think, the people who originally came to that first series of council meetings. And then just recognizing again, so many years, so many fantastic trail stewardship projects, so many volunteers, members, and supporters coming out, working on the trail, enjoying the trail. And then I think getting us to, again, that first 100 miles that happened in May of 1989. The trail sections that we're going to highlight now are the ones highlighted in yellow. You can see they go all around the region. They're representing all the counties. There were some dedications in Sonoma as well, but they happened later in 1990. You see the expanse. And now, just to showcase of the top section. So we've got Prisma Creek Redwood Preserve, 7.7 miles. On that first day, May 13th, there were actually 2 dedications, as David mentioned. The one in the morning, and then in the afternoon, Wonder Lick to Huttert, 6.2 miles, and also just showcasing the partners, San Mateo County Parks. And then we've moved to September, Golden Gate Bridge to Morning Sun Trail with National Park Service and GGNRA, 1.5 miles. No more beautiful section than that. Also in September, Mount Tam State Park and GGNRA, Shoreline Highway to Pantel Ranger Station. So a big, long 11.8 miles celebrated in Marin. Must have been a very busy September because also September 21st, Pantel Station to Samuel P. Taylor. Beautiful photos. Oh, and sorry, I didn't call out the partners, but hopefully you saw it. Yeah, GGNRA, State Parks, NPS. And then Fort Funston to Stern Grove with San Francisco Rec and Parks and San Francisco Public Works, 6.2 miles. Nice long stretch in San Francisco, which is the first county really to get a continuous trail for hikers, at least, all through San Francisco. And then representing Napa, Skyline Wilderness Park in October, 4.4 miles there, thanks to Napa County Open Space District. And then back to San Mateo, Milagro Ridge and Sweeney Ridge, 7.6 miles with NPS and GGNRA. Sanborn County Park to Saratoga Gap, 6 miles, and thanks to Santa Clara County Parks and California State Parks, that beautiful stretch. Moving over to Solano, we have Benicia Waterfront, 3.5 miles, dedicated in October of '89, and thanks to the city of Benicia. And then so many projects in the East Bay. In Contra Costa and Alameda County, we had Tilden to Redwood Regional Park, 9.3 miles, and enormous thanks to East Bay Regional Park District, such a leader and supporter. Also, East Bay Parks, Redwood and Anthony Chabot in June of 1990, 14.4 miles. And the very last one we have to showcase here, Ed Mudlands to Coal Canyon Recreation Area. Again, thanking East Bay Parks. And we know that for sure this is a photo from the ribbon cutting of that day, and lots of wonderful friends and supporters showcased there. So that that concludes our history and showcase of the sections that dedicated. Once again, I want to thank all of you, all the partners, all the founders, all the board members, all the staff, all of you who've been with us each step along the way, and we look forward to you being with us for the next 100 miles. And so with that, just for a last close, I'd like to turn it over to Marie.
All right, so you're probably wondering how you can jump on the trail with us. And as we close out today, I just want to encourage you to sign up for the Ridge Trail Challenge, which is featuring the 100 miles that you've just had a walkthrough with Janet. So our challenge is either try to hike 35 miles or the full 100 miles from now on through December. There's prizes to win if you sign up. It just takes an email. We also have National Trails Day. I'll be at Mount Sutro, my favorite trail section in San Francisco, on June 1st. We also have a project in Woodside. We would love to have you join us for some stewardship. Solana Overnight is full, but I think there's a waiting list. You can look at the website and see more information. That is an overnight in June. And then, of course, we have our annual East Bay Hills that will be Labor Day weekend. More information will be going out soon. And as always, Ridge Trail Service Day, the first Saturday of November. Thank you all for joining us today. We are so thrilled that you're with us for the long haul, and we hope to see you on the trail sometime this year or sometime in the near future. Thanks, everyone. Please reach out if you have any questions.